Oh, hi. Welcome to the super special Superintendent Summer bonus episode. Let's go.
It's a brand new day. Hey. Wake up every morning and say, it's a brand new day. Hey. Take a good day, make it great. 'Cause if you got some lemons, make some lemonade. Yeah, taste so clouds away. It's a brand new day. Hey. It's a brand new day. It's a brand new day.
Listeners, this elevator is going all the way to the top floor. Our guest is the superintendent of the schools for the Orchard Farm District. We are thrilled to welcome Dr. Wade Steinhoff to the show. Wade, we're going to start pretty simple. Will you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your professional journey?
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me. I have the pleasure of serving the community of Orchard Farm as superintendent. We're one of 5 public school districts in St. Charles County, and they're all great in St. Charles County. We're the little one. We have about 2,500 kids, but we're growing each and every year, and it's really a great place to be. I was a kid that grew up wanting to be a teacher. My parents were teachers. Most of my family, grandma's a teacher, and aunts and uncles, lots of teachers in the family. So I was the one pretending to be a teacher in the basement with my sisters as kids. And so I started as a middle school social studies teacher in the Hazelwood School District and taught for 3 years. Summer after my 3rd year teaching, I was getting my admin degree, master's from Lindenwood, and was supervising summer school. And the principal that was responsible for summer school was pregnant with triplets, and it got a little bit into the summer, and they said, she's going to not be able to be in all the time. Do you mind taking on some additional responsibilities? I did that. Then it was about a week later, she's going to have to go on out of town to a conference. Do you mind going to that for her? Sure. A couple weeks later, it was, she's the one that does the master schedule for the school. Would you mind learning how to do that? And then by the end of the summer, they said, she's going to go on bed rest to start the year. We're going to post an opening for an assistant principal job, and you should apply. So that was how a really goofy looking 24-year-old with curly hair got his first assistant principal job. So I did that for 7 years, came to Orchard Farm as a middle school principal, did that for a couple years, quite a few years as an assistant superintendent here. And now this is going into my 4th year as superintendent.
Wow, you have a lot of experience in many different areas.
Yeah, it's great.
That is great.
Quite the journey, and it's really cool to have your family being such an integrated part into that arena as well. It's very cool. So Wade, how do you typically interact and engage with social media, both personally and professionally?
Sure. So personally, I have no Facebook account. My wife does. She gets a little irritated because I look at it and treat it as my own, and it gets filled with St. Louis Cardinals bobblehead collector things. So that's the extent of Facebook. I think about 15 years ago, I signed up for a Facebook account, and I got flooded with people, it seemed like, with school questions, and I just couldn't do it. When Twitter came along, I signed up, and that's my newspaper. I do get consumed with it. It's primarily sports and a little bit of education, but a lot of sports updates on there. But that is my newspaper, and so personally, I love Twitter. I don't post a lot on Twitter, but I do like all the school stuff that we have going on. I really, if I retweet, I try not to put anything, just my personal take. I usually just retweet with a green heart emoji for our school colors or an eagle emoji. It's just too hard. There's times where early on I would put some comments and people seem to dissect them. You said, this kid making all conference was great, but for my kid, you only said it was good. And so I try not to do too much with that. But that is my go-to for, like I said, news.
I can see that being a no-win situation for you. So sometimes we recognize those things fairly quickly and say, let me just scale back a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, so we're operating in a fully digital age. At what grade level does your district begin setting students up on digital devices?
Yeah, we have, and for quite some time, we went one to one on Chromebooks, probably about 10, 11 years ago, for fifth through 12th grade, and then, or actually for sixth through 12th grade. And then a few years after that, we folded in fifth grade and now fourth grade. So we're one to one Chromebooks, fourth through 12th grade. Fourth and fifth graders keep their devices in a cabinet in their classroom so that they're charged and ready every day. We don't have any expectation that they're taking them home and working through them at night. But 6 through 12, it's theirs and they take them wherever they need. In kindergarten through third grade, they have technology available to them pretty much whenever they want. It's typically Chromebooks. We do have some class sets of iPads, but typically Chromebooks are available to everybody.
That's really great that all grade levels are able to access, definitely at school and the older kids at home as well.
Yeah.
And thinking about use and positive use, primarily probably with middle school and high school, have you seen some of the positive benefits or reap some of those rewards from what we all expected with this digital age and using those devices or enhanced connectivity, those types of things?
Yeah, I have two daughters that are in high school right now. One's going to be a junior and one will be a sophomore. I also have a little guy. He's going to be a fourth grader.
Mm.
And so my wife and I, with the three of them, we see some things that, like my comfort is if I'm going to read something beyond, a few paragraphs, I like the paper printout or the magazine or the book. Whereas my kids are very comfortable reading, long sets or even novels on a computer screen. And I don't see myself changing my comfort. But for them, it's great that they have that comfort because that's probably how they're going to, receive a majority of new information in the future. I see, it wasn't until I still think I'm young, but I didn't get my first email until college. Whereas my kids are checking their email daily, and not too much. I feel like there's a good balance, not too much that it's consuming them. But our oldest daughter, she had her first job this last school year, and she was she would email with her supervisor and coordinate schedules and she implemented a Google Calendar that she then could share with us, and it had her work schedule, her sports schedules, and all those things. And so, just uh, I see them having because of what and I guess what is available at school and what they're just kind of immersed in. They're going to be able to translate those skills into whatever skills may be needed in any job or situation they'll be in.
Right. It really can be used for so many things. And you were talking about books. And as a fourth grade teacher, I see that too. Just the access to the amount of books that they can have online and they're used to reading online is nice.
Hmm.
So we know it has a lot of advantages. What has been the most challenging aspect of digital devices and social media across the student population in your district?
I think that it's really hard as a teacher to compete with social media or a digital device. I mean, we have great teachers, just absolutely amazing, doing creative, engaging lessons each and every day. Um, but yet, for some kids, uh, the content on their phone is just so engaging that it pulls them away for an extended period of time or even a short period of time. We actually, for this last year, we shifted from at our high school level from an AB alternating day block schedule to a 7 period uh, day schedule, primarily because of that. We listened to our high school staff, and we had an alternate. That was our schedule for the last 30 years. Was the block schedule of that were 90-minute clips of classes, and we had teachers that just said, I can I can do really great things and I can capture a kid's attention for 50 minutes, 55 minutes, but an hour and a half, it's too much. I get the positives that originally came with a block schedule, but
Hmm.
because of their phones, and because of social media or because of other technologies, I just can't compete and capture their attention for 90 minutes at once.
Is that more noticeable in the high school population versus, say, middle school?
I think so. High school kids have a sense that they can balance it, and uh, as a middle school teacher and middle school principal, I always saw a big difference between especially a first semester sixth grader and a second semester eighth grader, and the the eighth grade. By the time they got to eighth grade, a lot of the kids were like, kind of had the idea that, look, teacher, I know what you expect from me.
Mhm.
This is what you should expect from me. We're going to get through this year together. Kind of tongue in cheek, but and with high school kids, I think they expect that they should have the freedom to glance at their phone when they need to. They think that they're going to be able to manage it and do it in a responsible way. Whereas middle school kids, there's still a little bit more of the um hard expectation that, hey, the phones are out during class or put away during class. Don't even think about it, and the kids just kind of go with that a little easier.
Okay.
I would say that's probably from my perspective. I know that it very much is also, I didn't mention, but it's very real. The bullying, harassment, the competition on social media, the anxiety. That's real, and all it takes is for somebody to see something or hear something, and that is just going to eat it. There's no way they can focus the rest of the day because they saw this snap earlier in the day, or this Instagram post, or these comments, or and that's social media, but it's just as bad with the text messages and that, and so it it's there's a lot of neat things about being a kid today. I definitely appreciate that there wasn't that draw of technology when I was a kid. I guess that's when you reach a certain age when you say, back in my day.
Mhm.
I'm
And
there with
back in
you.
my day, I think I'm thankful that I didn't have this. My son, as a fourth grader, he plays some really, really cool video games, and watching him play, NBA 2K
Mhm.
24 on Xbox is pretty cool, and we play together and we have fun. But I think Double Dribble back in 1992 was just fine for me,
Yeah.
and it didn't capture my attention all day.
Wade, you're speaking my language.
Yes, I
NBA
love it.
Jam, double dribble all day.
Oh yeah.
It's nice to have, and it's great to hear you give such positive reinforcement about your administrators, your teachers. It's so great to have a good population in that regard, and they probably help on the front lines pretty significantly, I would imagine. But how often is social media or digital devices a cause of disciplinary action for your students? I know you mentioned cyberbullying and some things. Are you seeing a lot of that?
Um, I think that the instances aren't as much as just are as frequent as other behaviors that are commonly worked through by administration in schools. It's just when they happen, it's all consuming. It's the end of the world for the kid that's at the center of it, and it's the exciting drama for the kids that are on the fringes of it, and it's um, the distracting talk for the kids that are on the fringes of the fringe. And it's the most important thing to the parents that are involved. And then for the administrator, you're trying to sort through things that another adult didn't see or hear themselves.
Hmm.
And any proof was, agreed upon to be deleted right away. So nobody, you're trying to figure out something that you really don't, the teacher didn't see or hear, and you're piecing all this together. And a lot of times I've given advice to principals, unfortunately, that we're in spots where it's kind of a cold case, and the principals, they get really, it eats them up because they want to take care of their kids, they want to reach the a conclusion on everything. But there's times where I say, like, look, there's police officers, detectives that are sent to figure out a crime and to solve something. That's what they're trained to do. And there's plenty of times where there's a cold case. They can't figure it out. It was inconclusive, and that's hard for a principal to wrestle with. You know, something being calling a parent and saying, "Look, I looked into it. I've given this direction. I've done this and that, but it's really inconclusive. At this point." And they, for the parent, especially if somebody was affected in a negative way, that's devastating for them to hear that you didn't solve the case. And so it's just it's really, like I said, all consuming for an administrator. Um, and the kids, uh, it's exciting. When we think about as adults, what are our TV shows that catch our attention? It's the high drama. Look at how the news cycle. It's the exciting, dramatic things are what catch our attention, and it's no different for kids when there's quote unquote drama in school.
With that drama, sometimes there can be viral challenges. With viral challenges being such a trending topic, do you see them lead to misuse either during school or maybe over the weekend, coming back to school from incidents over the weekend?
We we've been there's a couple times where we've gotten a heads up over the years. I couldn't name specifically, but I remember parents would tell us, "Hey, this is trending," or a teacher would hear that, and we'd be kind of on the lookout, and nothing would really happen. If it does happen, I think there was once or twice where we had at the middle school level. Um, any viral trends really haven't impacted our elementary or even high school. It's just something about middle school, and again, as a middle school teacher and principal, you had to love
Mhm.
middle school to want to work there, and I love middle school age. They are a sucker for a viral trend, and there were a couple, nothing that was really super disruptive, but there were a couple that kind of caught on for a little bit that had to be squashed.
Well, that's yeah, good to get the somewhat of a pre-notice, and especially if they're trending towards more of the dangerous ones that we've seen out there.
Yes.
And again, some of them are dance challenges and are very harmless, but there's just those couple and get in the wrong hands, and it turns into something not so safe. So that's good to get the forewarning or heads up on those. So, thinking about policy around digital devices, and I don't know if this is district wide or if it may be related to a particular level of school, but do you have any policies in place for students regarding digital media? And if so, are parents brought into the fold in what those policies are?
Yeah, we definitely have policies related to expectations for digital, whether it's digital citizenship,
Hmm.
just technology use. Um, I'd say the overarching is there's an expectation that your phone is put away during school hours. There's some expectations or some exceptions to that, excuse me, like during lunch. The hard thing for that is uh, there's times where some teachers will have uh, you know an opening in class where it's appropriate and they give permission, and but that can create some confusion for kids of like, well, I was in Miss So and So's class and she said when we were done with our work we could, and then another teacher says, well, the school rule is that it's off during the day, so I don't care that we're done. But I would say the area that probably comes up, uh, it doesn't come up often because we really don't have a lot of fights in our schools. But if there is a fight, or not necessarily a fight, but a scuffle,
Hmm.
um, and kids would record that, we have the opportunity to give the same consequence to the student that recorded and posted a video of something like that, a fight, a scuffle, just as we would for the kids that actually engaged in the fight. If you're doing that, I consider you're promoting, you're encouraging, and that's just not good for the safety and good order of the school. And so we have suspended students for behavior like that. Um, Cyberbullying, other social media misconduct. Um, that's that can be difficult in determining the school's role. You know, you have to consider, is the incident in question, uh, is it school discipline or is it just school cooperation to help mediate a conflict that's happening outside of school? We have to determine, is there was there a nexus to school? Did it happen at school? Did it happen on a school device? Those can be easy yeses that the school plays a kind of an active role in working through that. But did it happen at night on a home device? Um, you know, is, if that's happening, just because it happens to be another school or another student doesn't mean that it's necessarily a school discipline thing, but we want to support the parents in helping the students resolve something. But if the kid, just because a kid does it at home doesn't mean they're completely clear of school. If the kid creates that connection to school themselves and they say, hey, tomorrow at school, I'm going to, this or that, then it certainly, um, connects administration to that. So just for an administrator, that's difficult to navigate. If wherever there's a conflict, text messages, social media between two students, even if it's summer and we haven't even been in school, it's a parent will call the principal and want us to fix it. And uh, sometimes that's something we can do pretty well and have a positive impact. And sometimes it's difficult for us to intervene in something that really, like, you guys are neighbors and you don't get along and your parents don't get along, and we're probably not gonna and nothing's happening at school, so we're probably not gonna be able to fix this.
You're right. There's a lot of gray area when you're dealing with things from home to school and vice versa, and it's hard because you want to keep your kids safe, your students safe.
Yeah.
In what capacity is the school board involved in making decisions about like digital devices or programs the school uses or anything related to social media?
Yeah. So I mean, the board approves and manages all policy in the district. So if there would be a change or an adoption of a change or anything in policy that would be approved by the school board. They also approve our student handbooks that contain a lot of disciplinary measures related to anything, but certainly if there's something with technology, they um, and they're for our school board members, most of them are either parents of students in the district, spouses of employees of the district, grandparents of students in the district. So they've got a connection to what is happening, and so they, like any other parent or employee, provide feedback to me or to administration on things that they think is going well or things that isn't going well that they would think that we need to look into. And so I would say there's kind of a direct and active role through policy and handbooks, and there's kind of an indirect role of just being connected to our schools and to people in our schools and sharing their observations and feedbacks for us to examine. But our school board, they're really amazing. We got 7 people that truly love Orchard Farm and truly want what's best for the community today and in the future. Um, and so they're really great partners, and um, just have good insight into what might be appropriate for us to look at.
It does work best when you have that level of connectivity, partnership, collaboration, and just real interest in, being connected with that larger community. So that's great to hear. Love to hear that. And as a school leader, I mean, you sound very connected to everything going on, which is amazing. Do you have any support mechanisms or training opportunities in place for teachers or your administrative staff? You mentioned you had some programs in place, especially at the middle school, maybe something like a no cell phone policy or device policy during class. Are there any trainings or anything that you have in place to further help or educate?
Yeah, like our elementary, have some really great programs with Leader and Me that just have had a very positive impact on our kids and our staff and our buildings overall over the years. And I know, especially at the upper elementary levels, they'll get into the digital citizenship topics and lessons for kids. Same at the middle school level, definitely intentional lessons related to those topics. As far as for staff, I would say that probably the best support, the best training is really our peer-to-peer support of best practices and tips, if you will. Our teachers, they're even like I mentioned. I think I'm one of the young ones still, but all of a sudden you look up and you're like, wow, this is 25 years. Um, and so our teachers, they're the ones that went to school as a student and lived through as a student using cell phones in class and navigating that world. And so they're really, I think they have a perspective that is really far advanced than mine would be, or a lot of our administrators would be. And so they really are a great support for each other. Um, I like to think that we do a good job of listening to their needs, our staff, and if there's ever a time where they are in need of support or guidance or tips or anything, then we want to listen and support that. Uh, I think that probably the uh, uh, while I hint that I've gotten older, I think that probably one of those tried and true tips in anything is really about the positive relationships we build with kids and with our students, that so many good things can happen from. And so, you think about for example, managing cell phone expectations in a classroom. I would imagine whatever the current trend on how to manage that, if somebody was going to give a presentation, it probably boils down to, once again, have a good relationship with the kids. And if you do, then you're going to be able to manage those expectations respectfully, reach some kind of common ground with the kids. Probably the number two lesson in that training scenario would be to have really engaging content yourself and activities in the classroom that are more entertaining than anything they could find on their phone. And so I think that some of those tried and true lessons are probably would fit in those scenarios as well.
Such a great response.
Yes,
I
I love
appreciate that.
especially the engagement and the relationship. So, so important in education. All right, Wade, you have shared so much with us and we really appreciate it. We have one bonus question for you.
Okay, I'll do my best.
Okay, I think you can cover it. If you were to take a break from social media, what would you be doing? What are some of your hobbies outside of work and technology?
Oh wow, that's fun. Um, Well, my life is one of my favorite hobbies is work, and just because I really enjoy it. But I would say that no social media. Can I still watch the Cardinal game?
Only if you go live.
Okay, okay. Then it's really spending time with my kids and my wife together. That's our hobby. It's really being at their sports games and everything. And so probably there's times where I'm busy looking at Twitter and my son's saying, Dad, let's go play catch in the yard. And I'm saying, oh, I'm kind of tired and I'm just zoning out in my phone. I would be able to say yes to that. There's times when, Haley wants to, our middle daughter, she's going to want to bake something and make a mess in the kitchen that I have to clean up. And I'm going to tell her, hey, just do it this weekend because I don't want to have to clean up your mess in there. And I could just say yes to it because I would have the time to do it. Brooklyn, our oldest, she's a runner, and so I can get out and I think I do a good job running with her. But
Mhm.
one more time to not say no and to get out there and do things with our kids. I think I saw something uh, where it said, and this could have been a made up stat, but something about 90% of the time you spend with your children is before they turn 18. And that it actually, I saw that on vacation this summer, and I was at the Dolly World water park crying on a lounge chair. I had sunglasses on so nobody could see, but I started thinking about that. I'm like, oh my gosh, like how many more times like this are we going to have together? And it just kind of got to me. And so, yeah, just soaking up the family time is so important. I try to stress that to all of our teachers and principals. Principals, hey, give me 110% during the school year, but don't even think about summer. Just spend your whole summer at home if you can. Do everything you can. At night, try not, I try not to email people. Don't check your email till the next day. Turn off the notifications on your phone for your email. Um, there's nothing that can't wait till the next day. My job, sure, I expect that my job requires me to check those things all the time, and maybe for my transportation director or a couple select people, but for most everybody, you're going to be fine. Just wait till the next morning. There's no big deal. So enjoy. You work your butt off while you're here at school, but go home and try not to think about school until tomorrow.
That's good. You're taking care of their mental health. And I love all the family ideas that you had for your hobbies.
I'm a recent empty nester, Wade, and I'm with you on that. Just kind of cherishing those moments, right? So
Soak it up. It goes
that's
fast.
special.
Absolutely.
Well, hey, we've taken up plenty of your time, and especially in the summertime. So the job of a superintendent is ongoing, I'm sure. So we really appreciate your time, your responses, and the thoughtfulness here, Wade. A lot of people are going to get to take some stuff away from this. So thank you.
Well, it was my pleasure, and thanks for what you guys are doing, and have a wonderful school year.
Thank you so much. You too.
All right, take care.
Bye
You
bye.
too. Bye. We are so fortunate that we had the opportunity to talk to Dr. Wade Steinhoff, and he shared so many great things with us. The part that really connected to me the most as a teacher was that connectivity piece. You can tell Wade is very connected with his staff. He's aware of what's going on. He loves his school board and supports them. And as a teacher, that mental health piece of like, don't check your email over the summer. Like, just do your job when it's time to do your job and enjoy your summer. We talk about mental health in some of our other episodes, and I think that is a very respectable perspective to have as a superintendent. I think his staff has to appreciate that.
And I would imagine taxing it's a very in demand job in regards to you have to care for a lot of different aspects and make sure so many schools, staff, admin are all getting what they need. So it is commendable how connected he is, and you can genuinely tell how much he cares.
Yes, you can. And he even talked about those relationships, even that teachers have with their kids, like having those relationships with the kids and being engaged with the students is, that's just two of the top things that you can do. And he recognizes how important that is, especially in the digital world that we live in.
Yeah, and caring for staff is one thing, caring for what students are getting and the needs of students and that they're successful in what they're getting out of school is a whole nother thing. And you can tell that he cares. So very cool.
Yes. It's also clear that Orchard Farm has great device policies with middle and high schoolers keeping their phones away during class so they can be engaged. So that's great to hear.
Yeah, I think you mentioned right before we started, not necessarily a ban during school time or school hours or class time, but it sounds like middle school especially is a little bit more in the zone of taking heed and listening to those things, where high schoolers a little bit more fluid, probably have a little bit more flexibility. They're a little bit older and mature in that regard. So, and I think he kind of alluded to this in his opening statements of kids. This is what they do. This is what they know. So, would imagine by the time they're getting to high school now, they're well versed in this state of digital and virtual use.
Right. They're just connected to the technology and the calendars and the emails and the social media. So it's
Mhm.
nice that they can focus on school. And crazy that they changed from the block scheduling to, capture their attention. I thought that was interesting too.
Yeah, yeah, that's him listening
Mm-hmm.
to his staff, them bringing issues and them finding a resolution. Very cool. So,
Yes.
but it also goes back to, what are some of the unintended consequences of social media and maybe the state of the world that we're in a sense, where we want things now, we want it quickly. How long can we hold someone's attention? And we're seeing that very clear, even in a state of where kids need the most attention and to learn things in school. So it's very interesting.
Yes. So, along with their policies, he did talk about the disciplinary action. And one thing I really liked is obviously we can't keep kids off of social media, and kids are going to do things that they probably shouldn't do or post things that they probably shouldn't post. But I loved that he talked about how there's disciplinary action for not only the students involved in a scuffle, but the ones that are posting it or recording it and putting it out there somewhere because, they're part of the problem too. And I like that he recognizes that.
Yeah, yeah. Just filming that and putting somebody's most vulnerable moment out and for anybody to see, it's not cool. It's bad digital citizenship. Not saying that you need to step in and be involved in trying to break up a fight or anything, but don't promote it either. You're not Don King. You don't need to promote the fights. But I do appreciate his stance, and I think a lot of school districts are going in that direction where if you're recording is one thing and you keep it for yourself or maybe show a friend or two, that's contained. But when you post it to social media, there's disciplinary action that can be involved there. So I really appreciate that stance.
Yes. And once it's out there, it is out there. We've talked about that and heard about that a lot. So, and then the last thing I wanted to just bring up was I think that everybody can relate to this in some way or another. When he talked about why he does not personally use social media or comment on things or like things because of people picking it apart. Like, oh, they didn't like this post or he said it this way and said this to something else. Like things can just be picked apart on social media when you're just reading it. And I think that's something we've all encountered at some point.
It's unfortunate, but that's the world that we live in now where
Yes.
everybody and their opinion can be picked apart or and what he was referring to wasn't even necessarily an opinion. It was just him saying, hey, recognizing a student. But when you get picked apart for recognizing students or things happening in the district, that's a tough position to be in. And it's unfortunate that it happens. And it's probably not as bad as we would think. Like it's not happening constantly. But if it happens enough to want to dial back on your social media engagements and posting and things like that, and become an observer. At this point, I'm an observer of social media. I do very little posting. It's just easier to stay back and away from that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we're so lucky that we had the time to talk to Wade. He was fabulous. He was a lot of fun to talk to. So
Yeah, he
thanks
was.
again to Dr. Steinhoff for sharing so much with us. All right, Chris. Thank you for your time. It's been great.
Thank you for your time.
And remember, in the midst of chaos, there's always a way to find clarity. Have a great day.
Bye.
We are growing and would love your feedback. Please rate us and share your thoughts or any topics you would be interested in us covering in the future. Are you or someone you know interested in being a guest on the podcast? Visit us at chaoticdigitalworld.com.
One way to help support the show is by adding a new resource to your library. Order a copy of A Parent's Guide, Keeping Your Children Safe in a Chaotic Digital World today on Amazon. Follow us on all social media platforms, and don't forget to subscribe to keep updated with new episodes and bonus content. As always, thank you for listening. This episode of Chaotic Digital World is brought to you in part by Next Steps Inc. Next Steps, a software created for schools or organizations to transform the way we think about attendance management. Did you know? When an institution or organization uses 5 minutes per day for 6 sessions, that's equivalent to 15 wasted hours per month. And if there's an emergency evacuation, emergency personnel have to go in and search for those who may be hiding. We've solved those problems and more. At Next Steps, you can say goodbye to manual attendance and hello to efficiency and productivity. Our software automates the entire process, saving you time and resources. Visit us on our website at next-stepsinc.com to book a demo and learn more. We're waiting to speak with you.